How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Sports. I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder. Baseball has returned. Going to talk about opening day, the first two games for the Yankees and how they've gone so far. They've gone very well. We'll also talk about the Mets and how they did on opening day. Very good performances for both teams so far. Good starts for both teams. Expectations are high for both teams coming into this season. Yankees, of course, getting eliminated in the division series last year. The Mets, that late season collapse and ultimately missing the playoffs. And, with how their offseason went and the moves they made, the roster overhaul. But they got off to a good start against the reigning NL Cy Young winner in Paul Skenes. So we'll talk about the Yankees on opening day first. So this game was, of course, on Netflix. It was a mixed bag. I thought, the score bug, I wasn't really a big fan of that. I think that was a little bit mixed. Also, when Jose Caballero became the first player to challenge a strike call, so that was the first ABS challenge in MLB history, so his helmet is going to go to the Hall of Fame. He did ultimately lose the challenge, but they were doing an interview with the manager of the Giants, and we didn't even see we didn't see the replay on the Jumbotron. We didn't see the graphic that they show. So we didn't, based on the crowd reaction, you knew what the call ultimately was. The call ultimately stood. But that was something that was a bit of an issue. And also, the different promos they tried to do during the game and the player interviews, and you couldn't see the score bug when they were interviewing Jazz Chisholm. You couldn't see the score bug. There are things they are going to have to learn as they go along. They will be broadcasting the Home Run Derby. So hopefully between now and then they get all that straightened out based off of the feedback. But also, you're cutting off of a certain portion of your fan base. A lot of fans weren't able to watch this game because it was on Netflix. Now, Netflix has been around forever, so I don't really know people that don't have it. But, for the older generation, that's who you're, kind of blocking out. Now, the game was on, yesterday, and today it's going to be on Fox and national TV again. But, that's still a problem. So, but, I thought it was fine. I thought the analysts were good. CC and Hunter Pence were the color guys, and, you had Matt Vasgersian. How about Matt Vasgersian? He called that game, and then he flew all the way across country to call the Mets game on NBC. So credit to him for that, the quick turnaround. For him there. But I'm trying to think of what else I was missing. Also, Jameis Winston. Listen, love Jameis Winston. I just it was funny. It was just it's so random that he was chosen to kind of present the jackets at the end of the game as well as the hot dogs that Trent Grisham and Max Fried both received, and some fries as well. Jameis is going to be quite the star in media when he eventually calls it quits. But right now he'll be backing up Jackson Dart for the Giants. So the New York Giants rather. But now to kind of talk about the game itself, it got off to a tough start for the Yankees offensively. They went down quietly in the first inning. You thought it was going to be, a great day for Logan Webb and a not so good day for Max Fried in the first inning, because Max Fried got himself into a bit of trouble in the bottom of the first inning, but once he got out of it, he settled in and pitched very well. Did get taken out after 86 pitches. These guys still aren't fully built up yet. I mean, even with Cam Schlittler, because he got a little bit of a late start because of the back issue. He got taken out after 68 pitches yesterday. But Max Fried, very good. And, in both of these games, the Yankees bullpen really shut it down. Back-to-back shutouts in these first two games. That's never been done in franchise history. So, what we've talked about, the Yankees pitching staff, it could be very good. Some question marks regarding the bullpen, but these first two games, flawless, back-to-back shutouts. But yeah, the Yankees opened up the scoring. In the first game, they put up a 5-spot in an inning, and it wasn't courtesy of the long ball. The Yankees won 7-0, not hitting a home run. And that's something that, everybody talks about with the Yankees. They're so heavily reliant on the long ball. But that was not the case, on opening night. They got it, singles. Jose Caballero opened up the scoring. Ryan McMahon had a 2-run single. Austin Wells had a couple of hits on opening night. Stanton, a couple of hits for him as well. And then he did homer yesterday. It was a rough night for Aaron Judge. He did have 4 strikeouts, and that's something he didn't do at all last season. And everybody's up in arms. Yep, picked up where he left off with the World Baseball Classic. Is it time to worry about Judge? The one thing that I definitely learned, and obviously, getting older, you mature. The baseball season is so long, okay? You cannot overreact from just one game at the start of the season. You can't do that. And I remember, you go back to 2012. I'll give you an example. The Yankees got swept by the Rays, and the Mets swept. I forget who they swept to start the season. And everyone's like, oh, well, it looks like the Mets, they're going to have a great year. The Yankees, it doesn't look good for them. And what ended up happening? The Yankees made it to the championship series that year. So you don't want to overreact. But again, it's Aaron Judge, plays for the Yankees. He's the captain. He's got all these MVPs and the 62 homer season. And, the Yankees have a lot of haters. So obviously, yes, the Judge is going to get criticized for a performance like that. But what did he do yesterday? He homered. He's going to be fine. I mean, remember, he got off to a slow start a couple years ago with Juan Soto. And then what happened? He won an MVP. So Aaron Judge really has not shown signs of slowing down just yet. Now, it's going to happen at some point. Hopefully not anytime soon. But it's not going to happen this year. Judge is going to have a big year. He's going to be one of the favorites to win AL MVP. Unless Mike Trout has an MVP season. You see what start Mike Trout's gotten off to now? A couple of home runs already to start the year. I'm hoping for a big year out of Mike Trout. I think we all are as baseball fans. Because, it's been kind of tough for him the last couple of years. But yeah, Judge got off to a rough start on opening night. But guess what? If you're a Yankee fan, when you look at what happened in that game, they didn't hit the home run, and Judge did basically nothing, and they won 7-0. That's got to be encouraging, because what's the problem been for the Yankees over the last couple of years? It's Aaron, or I shouldn't say a couple of years, because again they had Juan Soto a couple of years ago, but it's Aaron Judge or bust, and it's if Judge does nothing, then the Yankees have no chance. Well, the Yankees put up 7 runs, against a good pitcher, and they won 7-0. And Judge did nothing. So, that can happen more. Yankees are in good shape. I mean, obviously you want Judge to, do something every night, but if there's times where Judge doesn't have a good game, guys can pick up the slack. But yeah, I mean, it was a good opening night for the Yankees. Not so good for the Giants. Not a good first couple of days for the Giants, and already seeing on social media how they feel about the manager. Again, don't want to overreact. Got to see where things are, a couple months into the season. But, a very good game. Bullpen, flawless on opening night, and it carried into the next day. Cam Schlittler only threw 68 pitches, but he looked great. And, you have him and Max Fried and Garrett Cole coming back and Rodon. I mean, again, I keep saying it, the sky's the limit to what this pitching staff is capable of. But he really never ran into any trouble, Cam Schlittler. He only gave up 1 hit. The Giants only had 1 extra base hit yesterday, only one hit yesterday. And that was it. Other than that, Schlittler just mowed down those Giants hitters. I mean, Rafael Devers struck out 3 times yesterday. And the Giants don't have a bad lineup, but, Schlittler did very well. And I was a little worried because the Yankees were going to have to get a lot of outs. And, again, the bullpen had a bit of concerns there. But, Fernando Cruz came in, Tim Hill, Camilo Doval struck out the side in his inning of work, and David Bednar. And they did their job, and that was it. And then the other night you had Hedrick and Jake Bird, getting the job done as well. So, yeah, so far so good with the Yankees pitching staff. And it took a while for the Yankees to put some runs on the board, or both teams to put some runs on the board. It was a pitching duel between Robbie Ray and Cam Schlittler. But, then Judge hits the 2-run homer. Goldschmidt had the double to start that inning. Judge actually challenged a strike call. And it ended up getting reversed, and then he later hits the home run, which was kind of similar to the home run he hit in the playoffs against the Blue Jays last year. And then Stanton A little bit after that, hits a home run. And to put things into perspective, whenever Judge and Stanton homer in the same game, for the most part, the Yankees win. I think now, overall, they have a record. I have the stat here. So overall, when they homer, the Yankees are 53-7. That's their record when they homer in the same game. That's quite impressive. And Stanton's got off to a really good start, so hopefully he stays healthy. It's not that far off from 500 home runs. I don't know if he's going to get to it this year. I mean, if he hits 46, 47 home runs this season, he's going to get to 500. That's the milestone that he wants to get to. If he could stay healthy, he could definitely get to that. And, in limited action last year, he was very good. He was very good. Had a great summer. He didn't really do much in the playoffs, but he looked the best he has since the Yankees got him back in 2018. So that's encouraging. Overall, it's been a good first 2 days for the Yankees, and they're looking to complete the sweep today. You got Will Warren on the mound, who had a very nice spring training, and he looks like he's a better pitcher. He's going to be better going into this season. And he was kind of a surprise last year. A couple years ago when he first came into the majors, it wasn't great. But he looks like a completely different pitcher. Tyler Mahle is going for the Giants today. So we'll see how that goes. But good start for the Yankees. And then to talk about the Mets for a second, what a great opening day for them. Now, it didn't get off to a great start. Freddie Peralta surrenders that 2-run homer to Brandon Lau, who had a couple of homers in the game for the Pirates. But the Mets put up a 5 spot in the bottom of the first inning, and it's not like they crushed the ball. They benefited from some bad defense. It was a rough day out there for O'Neal Cruz. Lost the ball in the sun, and then also misjudged the bases clearing triple by Brett Beatty. But the Mets, they really grinded out at bats. You had some hit batsmen in the game. But, this is new look Mets. I mean, so many guys making their Mets debuts. Bo Bichette, who had a sac fly, Luis Robert, Carson Benj, the rookie, Marcus Semien, Jorge Polanco, like they all contributed. Pretty much everybody contributed in some way in this game. And you had the guys that have already been there. Juan Soto had a couple of hits. Lindor, obviously, getting on base in the game. You also had, some power from Francisco Alvarez. He's one of those guys, again, that could be an X factor for this team. The power is there. It's just, it hasn't worked out so far in the majors. But, again, I think he could be an X factor for this team. And Carson Bench hit his first hit was a home run. So that was big for him. But against Paul Skenes, I mean, going into the game, you thought, Paul Skenes could have his way, obviously. Reigning Cy Young winner, but the Mets, great approach for them, and the Pirates playing some sloppy defense. And all of a sudden, he gets taken out in the first inning. Didn't even make it through the first inning, 37 pitches. And who would have thought that? Now, I didn't think Peralta was great, but, he did his job, got through 5 innings, and, the Mets, their relievers gave up some runs, but it was a high-scoring game, but the Mets put up 11 runs. So, it was a good day for their lineup. And we'll see how that continues. But it's a very good start for them offensively. And, just got to see how the rest of this pitching staff does. You got Noah McLean now pitching game 2. And then you go from there. But the Pirates, a lot of people are picking them to make the playoffs with their pitching staff and the guys that they added. I mean, yeah, you added Brandon Lau, who had a couple of home runs. Ryan O'Hearn had a pretty good year last year. You added Marcell Ozuna. So, they tried to improve this lineup with their pitching staff. You're hoping that maybe they could have a good year. But definitely didn't see that coming with what happened in that first inning. And again, it's the first game of the year. Don't think you should be hitting the panic button with Paul Skenes. He's going to be fine. He's going to have a very good year. Just the Mets, they got to him. They worked their walks and, didn't get help from his players out in center field. O'Neal Cruz, not making some good plays out there. So, yeah, no, it wasn't good. And, I guess it was just the appropriate time, get him out of there and just bullpen game the rest of the way. But a shock there. So, we'll see how it continues for the Mets. Unlike the Yankees, yeah, the pitching wasn't great in the first game. But Freddie Peralta, he was their big pitcher acquisition this offseason. Expect him to have a good year. And then you kind of just got to see how the rest of the guys do, like McLean in year 2. First full year, really. The Senga bounced back. Manaya dip in velocity, but how is he going to be? We didn't get to see Devin Williams make his debut or Luke Weaver. Devin Williams was warming up in the 9th inning because the Pirates did score a couple of runs there. But we'll see how that looks. But yeah, good start for the New York teams. And we'll see if that continues into today. And as across the rest of the league goes, saw a lot of young guys homer in their debuts. A couple guys on the White Sox, the Guardians already has 3 home runs on the year. Guys have gotten off to some good starts. So baseball's back, and it's so good that it's back. Only for me to go away next week, but obviously I'll keep up with it as we go along here. But yeah, so for the Mets, they do have Noah McLean on the mound, going for them, and then they have the final game tomorrow. That will be. No, McLean's pitching tomorrow. Wait, so then who's pitching? Are they still? Oh no, it's David Peterson. My mistake. So David Peterson's pitching today. McLean's pitching tomorrow. That's my mistake. Mitch Keller's going for the Pirates today, and then tomorrow, like I said, Noah McLean is going for the Mets. And then the Yankees are actually off tomorrow. Kind of weird how the schedule is set up where you have some teams off on Sunday, because usually Sunday everybody's playing, but that's not the case. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at with everything. So, again, final game of the 3-game set for the Yankees is today against the Giants. Mets, they're back in action today. And, so we'll make sure to we'll cover their games when we get to them, whether it's tomorrow or Monday. My schedule's kind of changing a little bit with things going on, so I'll try to get the video out for you guys as soon as I can. But as always, everybody, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the video and to the channel. Make sure to follow us on the social media platforms in the description below, and wherever you get your podcasts, you can follow us as well. Just look up Infinite Sports, and you'll find us there. And as always, everybody, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, signing off. Have a good one, and I will talk to you guys next time. Take care.